Apollo astronaut Edgar Mitchell, who had grown up around Roswell, was an aerospace insider with deep Pentagon connections. He became convinced there were UFO secrets concealed from normal government channels.
Well, if the accounts are to be believed, yes, there have been ET visitation, there have been crashed craft, there have been material and bodies recovered, and there is some group of people somewhere that may or may not be associated with government at this point, but certainly were at one time, that have this knowledge.
I interviewed Gordon Cooper, Mercury astronaut Gordon Cooper, back in the 90s. Cooper said on camera that there was a landed UFO at circa 1957 at Edwards Air Force Base. His camera crew captured the filming of this object, and he presented this to the higher-ups, and eventually a courier jet came in from Washington. He handed the footage over, which was good. He viewed it.
That's the last he saw of it.
Exactly. Did you know where that footage went of the flying saucer that landed on the tarmac?
Went to Washington, that's all that I know.
Did you ever keep in touch with anybody about it or discuss it?
How would I keep in touch with anybody about it? There's no way within the military or within the government of keeping track of something that is classified.
Did you try to go after stuff like this?
We did. We have. It's there.
Are you saying that there's some evidence that's still hasn't seen the light of day?
I'm saying most of it hasn't seen the light of day.
There were well-observed UFO cases, just like modern cases, in the 18th century, in the 17th century. There was science. There were astronomers. They had telescopes. And they were very good observers because their life depended on being good observers. And these observations come from all over the world.
Dr. Condon, do you hope to find people from outer space here on Earth?
Well, I don't know for sure, but we'll try to just study the reports and get as much additional information as we can to see.
Would you like to have us being visited by these little or big things?
Well, that'd be fine with me, if I hope they're friendly.
How do you propose to go about studying?
After the project was launched, Condon remarked to an audience that he thought the UFO subject was nonsense, but, quote, "I'm not supposed to reach that conclusion for another year." But it was Dr. Condon who wrote the final word. There appears to be no verified and fully satisfactory evidence of any case that is clearly outside the framework of presently known science and technology.
I would kind of wallow on that one. You'd have to conclude that what we were looking at was beyond our current state of the knowledge.
But it began to hit me that Dr. Condon has apparently not read his own material very carefully. You do an actual tabulation, which he doesn't seem to have done, and you find his percentage of unexplained is 5 to 6 times larger than the Air Force, and yet, what is his principal recommendation? The principal recommendation that Dr. Condon has come through with is there's nothing of scientific interest that warrants further attention on the part of the federal government here in any major way. He recommends dropping the whole problem.
Nobody could get funded. Nobody would look at the data seriously because of the prestige of the academy, saying that the problem had been solved. The Air Force closed their reporting system so that if the public wanted to report something, they would report it to the local police, but it would never get to the attention of scientists really examining the phenomenon.
In 1969, the Air Force officially ended its public investigations.
Which would suggest what? That they knew what it was?
Or didn't know what it was.
Also the other way, that they did know what it was.
Good evening. Tonight we go after a fantastic story. The story that flying saucers from other worlds are visiting our planet, just as we are exploring outer space with our own rocket satellites. Our guest is former Marine Air Corps Major Donald Kehoe in his campaign to prove that flying saucers exist. My name is Mike Wallace. The cigarette is Parliament. Why will the United States government withhold information from United States citizens? For what reason?
The Air Force is simply treating the American people like children. They don't trust them with the facts.
Rockefeller put together a briefing document intended for world leaders with a sobering observation. It is conceivable that even the president himself is not fully briefed on matters classified as above top secret.
I did attempt to find out if there were any secret government documents that reveal things, and if there were, they were concealed from me too. I wouldn't be the first president that underlings have lied to or that career bureaucrats have waited out. But there may be some career person sitting around somewhere hiding these dark secrets even from elected presidents. But if so, they successfully eluded me, and I'm almost embarrassed to tell you I did try to find out.
At a cabinet meeting, he raised this with Secretary Cohen, and then Cohen's office called me and asked me to pursue this and chase it down. The Air Force colonel that I spoke with got very frustrated, and when I asked him what happened to all of these records, he said, well, that was all cleaned up or thrown out to save space, something like that. That sounded ludicrous, but that's what he told me. If there is some recovered debris, say, it is so deeply buried and squirreled away that it's outside of those normal oversight processes, and that's where there's a problem in this area.